3-ingredient dessert that everyone's going to love you for. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. So it looks, yes, a little bit weird over here. It's not my usual setup. This is another corner of my house. Let me know what you think about this new intro. Just trying to make things a little bit more interesting. So tonight I'm invited over to my partner's sister's place for dinner. So they're taking care of the main dinner part. So I just put my hand up for dessert. It's a true family dinner or friend gathering kind of fashion. Always try to contribute, right? So the dessert I'm going to be making today is consisted of 3 to 4 main ingredients. Sugar, egg, milk, and vanilla extract is optional depending on how fancy you want to go. So with these, I'm going to be turning them into egg custard pudding. So egg custard pudding is what I grew up with as a little kid, so they are sold everywhere back in Taiwan. Really keen to introduce that to you guys. Give it a try at home, it's super easy to make. And that is all I want to say. Before we get into the recipe, if you think my approach towards cooking, being budget friendly and sustainable, really should be more common, more of a norm, I would really appreciate if you can just smash the like button down there. That will encourage YouTube algorithm to be promoting my video to a wider audience. Thank you so much for doing that, and let's get cooking. To make our egg custard puddings, we have already spilled the ingredients at the start of the video. We'll need eggs, sugar, milk, and optionally some vanilla extract or imitation vanilla if you're on a budget like myself here. The recipe is broken down by ratio, with the number of eggs being the determining factors here. I'm making 5 small sized puddings with 4 eggs. 1 egg needs 120 grams of milk and 12 grams of sugar. And that is all we need. Literally one of the easiest but tastiest desserts out there. Let's be real, cooking is like science. Working with the scale allows me to create super repeatable recipes. So if you don't have one, please, I beg you to go get one. First thing, we want to grab a saucepan to make our caramel, or as the Yankees called, caramel. Pan onto the scale and tare to 0. Grab our sugar, and we want about 12 grams of sugar per serving, so that is 12 by 5 equals to 60. Next, add in about 15 grams of water to help us melt and caramelize the sugar. Onto the stove, and we want it on low and gentle heat. Keep an eye on the caramel, but don't stir it. I know it's so hard to resist, but just trust me for once. Stirring will cause the sugar to crystallize and turn back to solid instead of caramelizing. After about 5 minutes on low heat, the sugar should be bubbling and turning a golden color. The darker the color, the more bitterness you'll add to the caramel. Once you're happy with the level of caramelization, add in some hot water to stop the caramelization and turn it into a dark syrup. Add the water bit by bit until you have a liquidy kind of syrup. We definitely want it more on the runny side. Back to the workbench. Here, I'm measuring out the amount of caramel syrup we've got so we can distribute them out evenly. Depends on how much syrup you made, I'm splitting them out to 15 grams per portion. Here, I'm just using some IKEA water glasses as a pudding mold. Any heat-proof straight edges container will do the trick just fine. Put the glasses aside for now, and it's time to work on the rest of the ingredients. Grab the saucepan we used for caramel and don't wash it just yet, so we got one less thing to clean up in the end. With 4 eggs, we're weighing out 480 grams of milk and 10% of that in sugar, which is 48 grams. Next, we bring the saucepan to the stove and we want to warm it up on low heat to gently dissolve our sugar. Alternatively, microwave the milk for 30 seconds or, according to the infamous Chef Nigella,
a bit of milk, full fat, which I've warmed in the microwave.
And stir until there is no visible sugar crystal. Turn off the heat once all sugar is dissolved. Finally, we're getting to the end of the preparation. We crack open our 4 eggs. Grab a whisk. We want to break the eggs up and whisk it to as homogenized as possible. Once done, sift it through a mesh to get rid of the stringy bits, or as they are formally called, chalaza. Sounds like a pretty cool Pokemon to me. Nah, it's actually called Chalaza. The reason to get rid of them is just to get a more consistent texture. I thought about blending all of the eggs into a uniform consistency, but quickly put the idea to rest because of dishes. Give the egg, milk, sugar mixture a good stirring until well combined, and optionally add in some vanilla extract for more depth of flavor. Now it's time to put them all together with 4 eggs at 50 grams each plus 480 grams of milk and 48 grams of sugar. That gives us 145 grams of milky, eggy mixture per cup. Not knowing the difference in density between the syrup and pudding mixture, I used a spoon to allow for a gentler pour to make sure they stay where they are and gives us a good layering. Instead of pouring the pudding mixture straight in to stir up the syrup, the spoon takes the vertical force and spread it out horizontally. Once all done, turn the oven on fan bake at 150 degrees Celsius. Once the oven is up to temperature, load the glass containers into a baking tray and fill the tray with hot water. I boiled the kettle and just added a dash of cold water for good measure. Fill the tray up with about half a centimeter left to the rim so it's safe to move it around. Then we'll put the puddings in on a lower level of the oven and bake it for 45 to 50 minutes. What I love about this recipe is it's super easy to make and the cleanup is nice and straightforward as well. The dishes took me 3 minutes flat to put away and I just bumped around until the puddings are baked. 45 minutes is up. I pull the puddings out and they are so very set with a little bit of jiggle to it. I used some unhomogenized milk for this recipe, so some of the butter did flow to the top. Really it's just a presentation thing and it did not affect the flavor at all. I then pop them in the fridge for at least 2 hours to cool down before serving. To serve the puddings, I grabbed a knife to loosen it off the edge of the cup. Smack a plate on top and flip it over. The pudding might need a little bit of tapping as encouragement, but should come straight out pretty easily. Look at it, the caramel running off the pudding, the silky smooth texture, and the jiggles. The cost breakdown is as below. 4 eggs at $3.50 a dozen equals to $1.16.7 cents. 480 grams of milk at $1.30 a litre equals to 62.4 cents. 108 grams of sugar at 11 cents a kilo equals to 1.1 cent. Altogether, 5 servings of pudding costed us around $1.80.2 to make. That is 36 cents per serving. I used some almost expired milk on reduced price for this recipe and dropped the price per serving to 25 cents. Alright, and there we have it. That is our egg custard pudding or 鸡蛋布丁 done right here. The pudding itself is so soft and so satisfying. The caramel on top adds a layer of bitterness, sweetness to this custard pudding. From 3-year-old to 93-year-old, I can guarantee that everyone will love it. So this recipe is not only simple, the cleanup is also super fast. I really hope you guys do give it a try and let me know how you go. As per always, my recipe is broken down into ratio to make it as easy and scalable as possible. Leave a comment down below and let me know how you go with the recipe. I would really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I have a new video coming out every 2 weeks. Thank you so much for doing that, and I'll see you in the next video. It's so good.